I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and when it comes to tablet phones or phablets, whatever you want to call them, there are two entries in the market right now that you might want to consider. One is the LG Intuition on Verizon Wireless. The other one is the Samsung Galaxy Note. It's available on T-Mobile and AT&T. Let's take a look at a Dogfight, but first, special thanks to Best Buy Mobile for giving us both of these devices, or devices like this, for use in our One Paw Bandit game, which we turn around and give to you at instantwin.phonedog.com, so be sure to check it out. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile to get either of these devices, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your PIN settings, and more. So when you walk out the door, you're drawing, you're texting, you're emailing on your devices, thanks to Best Buy Mobile. It's Dogfight time. Intuition, Galaxy Note. Which one's the ultimate phablet? Let's go take a look in the Dogfight, which starts right now. Two big phablet devices in the marketplace right now. Well, you know what we do when two devices come together like that? In the market, we do a dogfight. That's exactly what we do. You already knew this. You watch Phone Dog, I'm sure. But if you're just coming into this for the first time, welcome. We do dogfights, but they're very friendly dogfights. They're with phones, so you have nothing to worry about. These are two hot devices on the market right now, as are most of the high-end Android devices. One is the LG Intuition, available now at Verizon Wireless for $199.99 with a 2-year agreement. It's packing a 1.25 gigahertz Snapdragon S3 CPU. And although it's interesting because, they say S3, some of the reputable sources say S4. Based on my speed testing, I went with S4 in the review. I'm not quite sure. It's a dual-core Snapdragon processor. CNET quotes S4. Other reputable sources quote S3. So I'm going to roll with S4 based on what my understanding, but we'll just keep it at S4, but it may be an S3. 5-inch display here as well. 8-megapixel camera on the back, 1080p HD video recording, and you got a front-facing camera on Android 4.0. With LG's user interface. 2080 milliamp hour non-removable battery over here. And then on this side you have the Samsung Galaxy Note. This thing has been out for a while. It's getting ready to be replaced by the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, which is coming to 5 carriers. This was announced at Mobile World Congress this year. This was announced at IFA last year. So this thing is over a year old, at least in concept. This one's a little bit newer, but it just hit the US market on Verizon. 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S3 CPU over here. 5.3-inch display, Super AMOLED HD display. You've got an 8-megapixel camera on the back here with 1080p HD video recording, and then you've got a front-facing camera, Android 4.0 with TouchWiz on this one as well, and a 2,500. I'm going to show it to you so you can see it on the back here. It is a removable battery, which is always nice, and 2,500 milliamp hour removable battery. This is the T-Mobile version. It's available on T-Mobile and on AT&T. This is available on Verizon and also unlocked online is the LG Optimus View. So both hot, both high-end. For those people that really need these bigger devices, both of these are decent options. That said, this one's really bulky and really big because it's in a 4:3 aspect ratio. It feels more like a book in the hand. I can't even wrap my hands around it. Whereas the Note, while it's a big device and actually has a larger display, 5.3 inches, it's a little bit easier to hold in the hand. And that's saying a lot because neither one of these are really easy to hold in the hand. But in comparison, this one is slightly easier. Now the Note 2 is going to be interesting to chart. We'll take a look at that when those come into the Phone Dog offices because it's got a bigger display. It's a 5.5-inch display, but they've kind of tapered it off in terms of width and made it feel a little bit more like the Galaxy S3, both in terms of design language and in terms of overall feel in the hand. But let's dive right into this. 2,080 milliamp hours, 2,500, like I said, Android 4.0 on both of these devices with very different user interfaces. So again, ice cream sandwich running on both, but you'd never tell it if you looked right here because they look dramatically different. Let's talk a little bit about the bodies first. You got your micro SIM card slot. Over here, up top, you've got a 3.5mm headphone jack. You've got a button here to access Quick Memo, which gives you the access, much like S Memo over here. Quick Memo gives you access to write on the screen with the rubber DM pen, which comes pre-installed out of the box, or I should say, not on the phone itself, but out of the box. That said, there's no place for the pen on the actual device, so you're out of luck. You have to carry the pen around, whereas over here, comes with the S Pen, and it's down here at the bottom and stores itself in the device. So that's automatic kudos to Samsung for adding a place in the device. Unfortunately, LG did not do the same thing. But you've got the shortcut for that. You've got your micro USB charging port here with a little flap back and forth to keep the dust down, a power button up top, volume rocker over here, nothing down at the bottom except for screws and your microphone area, and then your 8-megapixel camera on the back, but again, very hard to hold in the hand. Now, both of these devices have some level of 4G. This has 4G LTE on Verizon. This has HSPA Plus on T-Mobile, and on AT&T it has 4G LTE. Design-wise, volume rocker over here, power button on the right, micro USB charging port and S Pen at the bottom, and then you've got your 3.5mm headphone jack up top as well as a camera on the back. So design-wise, a little bit different, and obviously with the software as well. Like I was saying, Android 4.0 on both of these devices, but you'd never know it by looking. 4 buttons down here: back, home, recent applications, and then of course your menu button as well. And you can tell this one was optimized a little bit more for Android 2.3, and when it rolled out on AT&T, it had Android 2.3 before getting upgraded to Ice Cream Sandwich. The T-Mobile version launched with Ice Cream Sandwich just as a background, but you can see menu here: home, back, and then search. Press and hold home to access recent applications on the Galaxy Note. So even though you don't have that physical button, you have a search one instead. This is kind of the older layout of buttons. This is kind of the newer layout of buttons on the LG side. But both have 7 home screens on both devices, so you've got the ability to change your home screens around to add widgets and really make the device your own. And down here, because of the larger aspect ratio or kind of the different look and feel with the screen, you can see down here you've got phone, messaging, contacts, browser, Play Store, and apps. So you've got room for 5 icons as well as the App Store, whereas here you only have room for 4 icons, but you've got more room vertically on the display, as you can see when they're up side by side like this. Let's take a look at applications and see what comes out of the gate. We'll start with the intuition. You've got some Amazon stuff, your Verizon, Vcast apps, Google integration, Google Plus, IMDb installed on this device, My Verizon Mobile, Mobile Hotspot, NFL Mobile, Real Racing 2, Shark Dash, which the light is kind of blocking it. How dare you block Shark Dash, light? And then you've got Task Manager, all the typical LG stuff, Viewdini, VZ Navigator, Visual Voicemail, Yelp, which I installed, Zappos, which comes in the gate, and then you can see the downloads that I've installed myself in my testing time with the actual device. Now, apps, downloads, and widgets are all up here at the top. You don't get widgets access on this one out of the gate. What you do is press and hold, and you can access widgets this way. So the older version of TouchWiz, version 4.0, is still present on this device. So after working with a device with Nature UX, you look at like the Galaxy S3, for example, as you can see, and I'll bring over the Galaxy S3 so you can take a look. It looks a little bit different in terms of apps and widgets integration, as you can see there where they're attached, much like Ice Cream Sandwich or typical Ice Cream Sandwich look and feel. But this, because it's running an older version of TouchWiz, you press and hold like you used to in Gingerbread, and you can access the widgets directly from there and then scroll through. Now, great widgets on the Samsung side, great widgets on the LG side. That said, I would give a slight edge in terms of widgets to Samsung. They're a little bit more fleshed out than LG's, but you do get quite a few options over here. The ability to add like a digital clock, for example, email, and more, and you can scroll these around, and you'll notice the widget kind of moves around for me dynamically as part of Ice Cream Sandwich and LG's user interface. But down here, again, screen real estate a little bit different because of the different aspect ratio, whereas over here it has more of a smartphone look and feel to it despite being a much larger display. We can also take a look at the backgrounds, and you'll notice when I press and hold on the screen over here, it brings up a little bit of a different menu also, where I can go to widgets and directly add those into the home screen. So this is kind of reminiscent of HTC's rollout of Sense, where you've got all the different home screens you can scroll through, and then it's like, oh, bam, I want to put a widget here. I'll just press and hold and add a widget. Scroll over, press and hold, add a widget, and do stuff like that. Now, most of these are customizable. The Android ones are, the stock Android ones are, and quite a few of, actually I take that back, I don't believe the LG ones are customizable, but the Android 4.0 ones are. Now, on the other hand, some of Samsung's are customizable. So take AccuWeather, for example. You can bring it over here onto the device, and you notice the little icon stuff that popped up on the side. Let me get this in an area where we can change it, and I can modify the size on both a Samsung, a dedicated Samsung widget, and then a stock Android 4.0 widget as well. So that's a nice benefit. You know me, you know I love customization. I talk about this in quite a few videos. Love the customization choices Samsung has and HTC has. Love to see that roll out on LG. But conversely, you can do this on LG, and it's pretty cool. Let's say messaging, I don't want that to be my icon. I can click there and change it over to this icon, for example. And I had phone, maybe I don't want it to be the P, which actually isn't what came out of the box. I did that in the review. I want it to be, when I think of phone, I think of A for Aaron. So I'm going to change that to A. You can change the icons. I think this is a really cool thing that nobody else in the market's doing right now, at least the OEMs. You can change around the icons and really make this device your own. And you still have some pretty decent personalization choices in here as well. When you go into settings, you can see I can change the home screen. I can do a different theme, for example. I can do different wallpapers, obviously. But I can go over here to Sketch or Biz or Optimus and change the icon to the background or what around as I see fit. And then, of course, screen swipe effect. I can change this where it's accordion. So when I swipe it, you can see all the different screen swipe effects. And so panorama, let's do accordion. And so when I hit OK, you'll see that it does an accordion type motion there when I change it around. Now over here, the customization isn't as great, but that said, widgets are great over here. You got your battery percentage indicator, which you know me and you know I love my battery percentage indicators. Fortunately, both of these allow for physical numbers. So you're not looking at this arbitrary battery meter and you're like, I hope this thing lasts for the rest of the day because I can't really tell. Fortunately, You don't have to worry about that with either one of these devices. But like I said, 7 home screens over here to kind of customize and make your own. Out of the gate, application-wise, on the Note, you've got 411 and more, bobsled messaging, crayon physics. You got, let's see, what else? T-Mobile Hotspot, T-Mobile TV, T-Mobile Name ID, T-Mobile, is Mall in here? Nope, looks like Mall is not installed. Pro apps up there as well. You've got some Samsung pre-installed stuff like Social Hub. You've got Telenav GPS. Then you have a couple of things that I've installed as well as T-Mobile's visual voicemail. So T-Mobile and Verizon do put quite a bit of bloatware on both of these devices out of the gate. That said, you should be fine with most use. So let's go into messaging here and take a look. And we'll load this up so I can show you the keyboard. It only comes with one keyboard, and that's the LG keyboard. And if you've used a device like, let's say, the Spectrum, for example, you can tell that the keyboard has been much improved. And it has been much improved all across the board. And I'm going to bring this over. There we go. So you can take a look at both of these side by side. Now on the Samsung side, you get a couple of different options. You get swipe and you get the Samsung keyboard. Google voice typing obviously comes on both of these devices. But then I like the fact that Samsung, at least in the ice cream sandwich rollout, has added this physical number. Actually, I think it rolled out in a later version of Gingerbread, if I recall. But they've added a physical row of numbers where you don't have to go like this and keep hitting the 1, 2, 3 button. And especially with the screen real estate being as large as it is on both of these devices, I think that's a nice feature to have. I'd love to see LG do the same thing. But keyboard's definitely improved, back to what I was saying over on the LG side. It's not my favorite by any means, but it's hungry. Brown Fox is hungry. Portrait landscape transitions are reasonably fast. And again, because you've got a large display on both of these devices, they're going to be great for typing as well as content creation. So writing, taking notes, that kind of thing in class or in meetings, videos, music, any of that kind of stuff is going to be fantastic on both of these. And over here, kind of same thing. Quick Brown Fox, which I don't really care for Samsung's keyboard, is hungry. I do like the fact that they have the physical number row, though. That's pretty nice. And of course, portrait to landscape transitions relatively fast over here as well. So nice and fast on both of these devices. Keyboards are a little bit different, and obviously you can install third-party keyboards through the Google Play Store.